I was born and raised in a Christian family. So my great-grandparents were like the first generation of Koreans, South Koreans, to convert to Christianity. And the thing is, because it's kind of like a passed down generation type of faith almost, I was never like, my parents never encouraged me to like question anything or doubt anything. It was like, you can't have any other thoughts than be a Christian. It's like kind of like almost taboo to even think about being atheist or whatever. So I kind of, I was riding that wave. And in junior high, in one of those like retreat moments where, they have the altar call, I was like, I felt like the Holy Spirit, this like feeling sensation all over my body. And then I really thought that I accepted Christ. But looking back now, I feel like that was a false sense of salvation because I never read the Bible. I didn't pray to God. Like all this thought of like my connection and relationship with God was whatever I kind of like thought of in my head. But, here I was in junior high around like 7th, 8th grade. I thought I was a Christian. I like started planning out my life to, live for God. And, but it really wasn't for God. It was for me. I just wanted to be this like awesome, cool Christian. And then sometime in high school, I had this like flashback experience where it was a member of a church who was supposedly like a really devout Christian. He kind of made inappropriate advances towards me. And then that like brought out memories of the past when I was actually, by the same person, I was molested as a child. And just kind of like dealing with that with this title of being a Christian, like I knew in my head that I have to forgive. But like the worst part for me, like thinking about it, was that God was gonna forgive him, and then like everything was gonna be okay. Oh, I'm ready for this. I brought a tissue. Okay. Yeah, so I just really kind of struggled with that. And I was just kind of like, I think even though I kept going to church, I like did missions, I, like served in the church, whatever, like part of me kept thinking like, I don't really want to be part of this, like this God, because this isn't the God. Like this was like my idea of God, and like, like if he has, sovereignty and like foresight into everything, then like, why does it have to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I pushed it under the rug, and I just kept, growing up and living life. And then I went to college, and I was introduced to the idea of like agnosticism, atheism, existentialism, and like, I don't know why, but it just became a lot easier for me to believe in those things than to believe that they're of the God of the Bible. And I became really depressed because I just couldn't sleep because I would think so much. I was so anxious all the time. And because I'm like thinking like this world is so meaningless, everything's pointless. When I die, like what's gonna happen? And I was just started fearing life at like 18. So many years to go, but I was just so scared. And so I started like smoking marijuana. I started smoking a lot of hookah. I like partying with friends, but all those like very cliche things, nothing hardcore, but just to, and I just really, really enjoyed that state of not being sober. And now I know why that is, but back then I was just so immersed in it that I didn't know. And then I graduated college and ended up not pursuing the career direction that I sought in the beginning. So coupled with everything, it was just like a big snowball getting bigger and bigger. I felt like I was a failure. I felt like pathetic, loser. And because of all those feelings, I like turned to drugs more. And I was basically just wasting my time away instead of doing something to like fix my life, because I'm not dumb. Like I have 2 hands and 2 feet. I can do stuff, but I just felt so helpless and trapped. And then last year around December, for some reason, I don't know why, I had this epiphany. And I was just like hanging out with like my non-Christian group of friends. And this is gonna sound really shallow, but we went to a vending machine and we're gonna get like a water, and my friend didn't have like money at all, like not even a quarter. And this is not just because it was cash, like he had no money like in his debit or whatever. And same thing with like my other friend. I was just like, dude, like we're rounding up to 30 years old, like what kind of like lame situation is this? And then, I couldn't help but kind of compare them to like other people in my life, and my group of people in my life kind of divides into Christians and non-Christians. And like, I'm not trying to say Christians are like better off financially, but like they have their life together a lot more. And I began to kind of feel like, because that's the only thing that I see, a good example of life that I see, I decided to kind of follow that route. And so I started coming out to Exchange, and I didn't think it was going to be like a weekly thing. I just was so desperate to feel some peace that I remembered feeling even when I, had this false sense of salvation. And then out of nowhere, like I just didn't really want to be the same me anymore. I didn't desire the same things. It wasn't really guilt or shame either, which is just really weird. I just didn't like it anymore. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be that girl that was like smoking pot behind her parents' bag and like my car smells like weed, like so lame. So I just quit cold turkey. And it was really crazy for me because I stopped smoking pot, I stopped smoking tobacco, hookah, and I stopped watching porn. All those things that I know personally, it's really, really hard to like quit, even with help. So I was just kind of like really confused. And as I kept coming to church, feeling peace and feeling like more desire to like have this thing that everyone else that I see on Sunday, like praising God, like have, I just like was so envious. I just wanted that in my life too. Madison's a good friend of mine, and she always encouraged me to come out to church, even though she was like really sensitive about it for me. But like she would ask me questions and I was like confused because I didn't understand like what she was trying to get at. But she was basically kind of like asking me like, why don't you think you believe? Because for her, she sees all the change that's been happening in my life. And here I was like thinking like, oh, I can't call myself a Christian because like I look back at my life and it's like 24 hours in a day and I don't even spend an hour like communicating with God or like doing any of that stuff. So I just didn't feel like I was like, I could even call myself a Christian. Then I took membership class, and Joe, you helped me understand a lot better about like what it means to be a Christian. And when we had that interview afterwards, you and Heather kind of like were like, we think you're a Christian. So I was like, really? And then now it makes sense because, like you said, like all the work has been done, and there's really nothing more than me choosing to believe in God. And I didn't really understand that for the longest time. I think I still like barely understand it now too, but I get that there is this choice aspect of it, this free will aspect of it. But regardless of how uncertain and how weak I feel in my faith, when I just look at my life and like the kind of thoughts that go through my head and how my heart has changed and how I want to know God more and desire Him more, like I can't help but like see God's work in my life, because I know all that was not me. All I know is that now when I pray, I feel like God's there, and I know when I pray with conviction that He will answer. But most of all, I'm starting to really understand that it's really not about me at all. It's about God. It really is. And that is basically how I came to know